Okay, so today we're speaking about our RG59, which is a 5-shot 380 caliber blank launcher. These are the large blanks and they're center fire. They're actually burn cleaner than the 6mm in the other models. In other words, there's less carbon buildup. However, the place where we do get buildup is down the muzzle. You can see the yellow, there's a bar, and that bar is there for legal reasons so that a live round can never be chambered. So when launchers are overdue with cleaning, that gums up, and then of course you don't get the gas or the flash from the blank to the pyro cartridge through its muzzle cup. So you take the muzzle cup off, and we're going to come back to muzzle cup shortly, and if it's quite carboned up, as in the picture you'll see, the best thing to do is open up the launcher, take a piece of tape. I'm using Gorilla Tape here. It's not a great seal, but it helps a bit. Just kind of jam up on the inside of the actual barrel. Close the cylinder, make it a little tighter, and then with the M Pro 7, squirt it down. I would put a liberal amount, even so it kind of fills up, and then just put the launcher down and let it sit. If you can let it sit overnight, great. If you let it sit like this, it's probably better because the M Pro will work on the carbon buildup. Once that's been done, just remove the tape. The best brush to clean there, because it's such a small space, we call it the port brush, and you'll see the item number. And having that, you just have to force it in. This one is already pretty clean, but that's how it works, and you're going to have to pick away at it. Sometimes if the carbon is really built up, you might have to take a small screwdriver and poke in there, or another option is like a dental pick. At any rate, once you've got that clean, it's pretty good. Sometimes when you're pushing it in and you're fighting the carbon, it's hard to get the brush out. So we just use anything into the loop on the brush and just pull it out. Okay, so once that's clean, the other parts that should be clean is all. You don't necessarily have to use the M Pro 7 on all parts unless they're really dirty. I like using brake part cleaner. And again, I'd squirt it down there. I squirt it all over the cylinder itself. It's a good idea when you have the cylinder open to poke in to these places. This is to flush out the carbon buildup and debris that migrates throughout the internal parts. So the firing pin, this is the advance for the cylinder, under the trigger like I already did. The other place I like to squirt is I cock the hammer and I squirt down in there, and that's the brake cleaner. Now, once you've done that, the brush that comes with the launchers, and we do have spare ones, which you'll have the SKU for as well, you just brush in and out of each of the cylinder holes. And you just do that as vigorously as you can. And it usually doesn't take much. The next brush is our bronze or brass toothbrush, we call it. This we use on the face of the cylinder and on the back of the cylinder. And again, just work it good, use the elbow grease, and you'll be fine. The other thing to keep in mind is the axle itself sometimes backs off. So you want to make sure that it's always quite tight. I do that, there's a little mark on it, just turn it tight. And the reason is, if that's backed out, then this cylinder gets sloppy. And when you close it, if you force it too much, you can cause this cylinder holder to break right here. And we can repair them if you can't, but it's better to keep it clean. It's another reason not to have a lot of carbon buildup here. Okay. The last thing, I'm just going to get a dryer launcher. Once you've done the brake clean, which dries relatively fast, it's a good idea to lubricate the internal parts. So again, we open it up and we're looking down here. And I like lubricating with a silicone. And you just take your nozzle, squirt it in there around the firing pin, down in here, which is the advance, underneath the trigger. You can close that. Cock the hammer. So this is after you've flushed with the brake cleaner. You use the silicone and you just squirt it everywhere, and that just lubricates the internal parts and makes it function better. Now once you've done that lubrication, you're going to have to let this sit for several hours, if not overnight, and probably give the launcher externally. You can wipe down the excess oils. But you don't want to do this procedure and then immediately go in the field to fire, because the blank cartridge will launch some of that loose oil onto the pyro cartridge at the back, and it won't fire. Pyrotechniques, blanks, and bangers, screamers, all of our cartridges, they abhor the hint of oil. So it's far better to let it dry thoroughly, or you can use an air gun. Now the next important part is the muzzle cup. And the muzzle cups do foul up. This is pretty clean, just from the exhaust debris. This is the brush we use. It's actually a plumber's brush, 1/2-inch plumber's brush. We'll give you that skew on the screen. And you just, every once in a while, give that a good clean. You can use the brake cleaner or the M Pro. The brake cleaner is probably sufficient. Now, important to the muzzle cup, which holds your pyro cartridge. And a lot of people don't understand this. There's holes on both sides of the muzzle cup. And the reason is, the blank cartridge does two things. One, it provides the gas for initial propulsion and total propulsion for the red banger cartridges. Then the flash ignites the powder fuse. But the gas comes first. And with a blank of this size, this much joules, this much energy, the gas can come, if this was solid, and the pyro cartridge is going to go out, and the flash from the blank may not catch it. So that's its purpose. Never do two things. Here, we got this from a customer. They decided it'd be a good idea to block those ports. Absolutely no. So don't do that. And the same thing, you can see some buildup in here. And you'll see in the still photo as well. You want that nice and clean. It's relatively easy to clean. Again, you squirt it through, and your brush, your small port brush, works good going this way. So you have technically 3 brushes to use on a muzzle cup. The internal ID for the exhaust debris, for the holes, and then for the actual port where the gas and the flash comes from. So those 3 brushes are important. And lastly on this is a muzzle cup that's with our RG46 6mm revolver, the one without a barrel. And it happens to be the same thread, regrettably, as the RG59. Never do this, because there is no holes, there is no ports, and you're getting a lot of fire from the blank. You have a much bigger opening. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, to go down, and as a consequence, it's possible that the cartridge will receive too much flash, too much ignition, and ignite right there. So you don't want to do that. So absolutely try to prevent that. And that is the story on the 59.